Salute and welcome to the Fighter Driver channel. I'm Gabriel Oliveira, the Fighter Driver, and today I'll talk about some aspects related to the update 1.49, especially its new physics and how it affected the driving for me, a Joypad driver. We'll also watch the highlights of my races for the Manufacturers Cup Exhibition 1 rounds 2 and 3, one of them before and the other after the update, and how I had to adapt myself in order to deal with those changes. So follow me and let's address those issues, weapons free. And first, let's take a look at the second round of the Manufacturers Cup Exhibition Series 1 in Tokyo. We have the race start. I started in P8, so I'm in the middle of the pack as I didn't qualify for this race very well. And as foreseen, a 4-ball formed by the end of the main straight. I'm being as careful as I can here, maybe too careful, but I just want to finish this race without being caught in the middle of any incidents, which is extremely hard when you're in the middle of the pack like this. First contact, I managed to hold it, but the car is upset and out of balance. Then the second contact pushes me very hard against the cars in front. I lose control and now it's gonna be a recovery race as it was in Interlagos. By the way, if you haven't watched the first race in Interlagos, I will leave the card for it here on the top right corner and the link in the video's description. A recovery race, at least I'll try, but the drama is just beginning. Lap number 2, yellow flag, and I recover one position as the American driver in the Merc has spun between turns 1 and 2. Another position will be recovered here as another incident happened and a Peugeot driver is slow in the middle of the track, but as they are ghosted, I can go on without no further problems. End of lap number 3, I managed to catch up with the Porsche driver in P12. As we go around a hairpin, you can see the struggle it is to me to brake and retake the throttle using the joypad buttons. It's something I will address as we talk about the update in the second part of this video, for the update changes in the game's physics made it even harder for Joypad drivers like me to brake and accelerate, and it will affect our gameplay so much. It even affected my strategy for the race in Autopolis, as we will see in the third part of this video. So nice and interesting information is coming for you Joypad drivers like me, so you can give us an incentive to keep going and bringing more content like this. There is a very simple mission to y'all. All you gotta do is hitting the like button, sharing this video with your friends, leaving us your comment about the topics and events in this video, and subscribing to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. Fast and easy, you accomplish this mission and help us a lot by doing so. And if you want to drive or fly with us, just join our server on Discord. We got a small team who's already interacting and playing together there, and we're waiting for you to join flying with us. Links in the video's description, or you can use the QR codes on screen. 5 and the Genesis driver is on the slipstream. They'll try but won't be able to overtake me. Later on, we've managed to get closer to the pack ahead. The Genesis driver loses traction as we leave the hairpin, and I'll be able to take a breath here, focusing on the chase after the drivers ahead. Lap number 6 and 3 drivers ahead get into the pits for their stops and change of tires. It's a bit early for me to do so, then I keep pushing forward to recover P9 and try to get the R8's slipstream. Be enough to try and overtake by the end of the straight, so just be patient and keep pushing. The R8 lost it, so we're now back to our position on the grid by the race start, P8. Lap number 7 and my best lap so far, 2.06.234, just 1/10 after the fastest lap so far. So you can see I had the pace to bring a good fight for this race if I hadn't lost so much time by the beginning. Contact between the Lexus and Porsche drivers ahead. It doesn't end well for the Porsche driver, and now I'm in B7. So this race ain't totally lost, right? We shall see. Porsche driver is recovering and closing the gap. He's faster but pushing too hard. Stops to change tires and we get P6 now. 4 more laps to go. I must just survive 4 more laps. As we get to turn 1, the 2 Porsche drivers behind are faster and do the overtake. I'm struggling with the brakes on this wet track and don't want to risk it defending too hard. I just want to survive it. Let them go and wait for the next opportunity, even because I'll make my stop to change tires by the end of this lap, which will prove to be one of the worst strategy mistakes I've ever made. And we recover 1 more position as the GTR driver has an incident against the barrier there. End of lap number 8 and I come for my stop. I'm slower in relation to the drivers with the slick tires, but yet I should have kept the intermediates until the end of this race. Again, I'll address this issue in the second part of this video, in which I'll talk about the new physics that came with the update. Lap number 9, slick tires and pressure coming from the drivers behind. I go a little bit off the dry line and lose traction, hit the wall and lose many positions here, moving back to P12 on the grid. The McLaren driver has an issue there too, and we recover one position, P11 now. But that stop meant so much time lost for me now. I really regret making that stop for changing tires. Big hit comes from the McLaren driver, who waits for me to get back on track. Nice attitude there, pal. We get back on track and move on. Lap number 10. By this time, I just want to finish this race. Number 11, the GTR driver is in dogfight range and pushing. I get a little too fast on that corner and hit the wall. I even tried to stabilize the car so the GTR driver doesn't hit me, but I couldn't help it. They hit me and another massive incident happens. My apologies to the GTR driver. The last thing I wanted was hitting you or anything in there. I'll have a 0.5 second penalty to pay, so I'll just bring the Mustang to the finish line and finish this terrible race. Now let's talk about the update, but before we do so, August is celebration month for us. The Fighter Driver channel on YouTube and its profile on Instagram will complete a year of existence on August 11th. It's a result of a big effort to share with y'all our experience and evolution flying warbirds and driving racing cars, an effort to bring you nice and interesting content. I want to thank you who already follow us here on YouTube and also on Instagram. Right now, you are 94 subs in both platforms, and we can grow this community even stronger. We need only 6 more subs for getting to 100 subs here and there. Just 6 more, guys. I count on you to help us getting to that milestone, which is so close. By the way, we want to know from y'all, what do you think we should do to celebrate our first anniversary? Leave your suggestions in the comments. Alright guys, so let's talk about the update 1.49, and For those who already follow the channel, you may remember I've made a video about the Spec 2 update. Yeah, the 1.40, and well, it was a little controversial one, polemic one. I'm gonna leave the link for you to watch it if you haven't watched it yet. There are many aspects in here which don't interest me. Okay, for those of you who already watched it, you will understand what I mean. I'm just gonna focus on the parts which are interesting for me as a competitive driver. Okay. Well, not a very good one, okay, I'm not a very good driver yet, I'm below the average driver, but my interest is completely in the competitive mode, okay, so I'm gonna focus on this. Now, the replays. There is no playback, but this is something interesting for me, okay, as I make content, yes, most of the footage I use on my videos come from the replays. There's this playback option where the playback position can be adjusted. Well, it doesn't really change much, alright? Because it moves forward and back 10 seconds by 10 seconds, so it's not much different from what we already have in the previous replay tools, okay? It doesn't change many things in here, right? Now, this dynamic viewing here, alright, which can allow more control over race replays of the Gran Turismo live events. They seem to be interesting, but they cannot be applied in regular replays. I cannot use those resources in my replays, for example, like the overlay. Okay, I'm gonna bring some, you can see it on screen right now. Yes, I've recorded a little bit of it, and that would be something very interesting if those overlay formats could be used on the user's replays, okay? Because if I wanna, honestly guys, if I wanna watch the race, I go to Gran Turismo channel on YouTube and watch it again, alright? So, you know, this playback bar option here is something that really doesn't change anything. Now, if I could use those formats in my replays, you know, if we could use those tools on our replays, that would be so awesome. And actually, I remember playing Gran Turismo Sport, and we had some resources which were very interesting, like the slow motion. Yes, you could slow the replay down 2 times, 4 times, 8 times. And I remember making some replays with the slow motion, and it was possible to make some excellent, some awesome scenes using the slow motion. It's something we don't have anymore, you know. We could also watch the replay from a B-spec perspective, which was so nice. Yes, we used to have the times, the gaps between the cars, and none of those things, we don't have them anymore, you know, and it's a shame because they were very interesting and they could bring so much information to the replays, to content creators, right, making videos about it. And it's just a shame we don't have those things anymore. Now, the most important point, the most important feature of this update, the physics simulation model, right? So they describe here the many aspects of it and how it changed, and it really changes. Yes, well, most of you already know about it because you have watched some great YouTube content creators talking about it. Many people already talked about it, okay, or because you have experienced it by yourselves, all right? But I'm gonna bring it from my perspective today, okay? I'm gonna show how it changed for me, especially because I am a controller driver, right? I don't have a steering wheel yet. I cannot afford one for now. I really want one. I really believe it would be a game changer for me. Okay, but for now I cannot afford it, so I keep driving on the controller. And I am a dinosaur, okay? As I already said in previous videos, I'm a dinosaur, Okay, I am an old school PlayStation 1 controller driver, and I just can't adapt to some things on the controls. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this. I'm gonna show you something here. Okay, so let's take a look at something here. Okay, we're taking a look at the manual, and I'm gonna show you something here. All right. Well, like I told you, I am a dinosaur. So I've started playing Gran Turismo since the first iteration of it in 1997, PlayStation 1 platform, and I learned how to drive the car using those controls here. Okay, the left button, right button here, the digital ones, as in the scheme number 2. Alright, and yeah, it is a mess, as you can imagine. And I learned and I adapted myself to use the left stick here as mapped in the diagram number 1. Okay, so I could overcome this limitation because of the differences we experienced with Gran Turismo 7, right? It made impossible for me to keep driving using the left button and right button here. But when it comes to throttle and brakes, the ideal would be using the buttons here R2 and L2 as shown in the diagram number 1. And I believe most of you controller drivers already use this. If not possible, using the right stick here, forward and aft, so you can accelerate and brake. Okay, I am none of these guys. I am here right on diagram number 2. I keep using the button X as the throttle and the square as the brake, and as you can imagine, it just brings me a lot of problems because they are far from the ideal when it comes to accelerating and braking. And I'm gonna show you this, okay, as I am practicing for the third round of the Manufacturers Cup, this exhibition one, okay, in Autopolis. I'm gonna show you what I mean by taking a look at this footage here, okay? So this is my first contact with Gran Turismo 7 after the update. As you can see, I'd been training for the race in Autopolis before the update happened, and my best time by then was 1.46.238. Remember, I drive with a controller and use X and square as throttle and brake, the worst scenario, but why? It's because I just can't adapt with the changes. Believe me, I've tried and very hard, but I don't have much sensitivity on my hands and fingers, and the more I try to use R2 and L2 as throttle and brakes, the worse it gets. The solution is keeping X and square until I can afford to get a wheel. The thing is, they give you zero progression or modulation, so you accelerate, it will be 100%. You get to the brakes, it will be 100% all the time. And even knowing what I should do, I just can't do it due to this technical limitation. It makes me slower and on the edge all the time. A minor mistake can result in massive loss of time or a stupid incident. That's why the last race was so difficult to me. I can blip the throttle and brake sometimes, but it doesn't solve the problem, and sometimes even brings the car out of balance as there's weight transfer happening back forth, in a way that upsets the car too much. Now, I believe some of you guys who drive with the controller might experience similar issues, even when using the right buttons, as they will never be the same as using pedals and a steering wheel. Okay, the controller also doesn't bring us any force feedback and useful track sensations as the rear snapping, things like that. Everything is visual, so when I realize I'm losing the car, most of the times it's already too late. Then comes the changing physics we had with the update. If before we'd experience understeer and a tendency of losing the rear all of a sudden for no useful feedback on the controller, Now it got much worse, especially the understeer. I mean, I've seen the best Gran Turismo 7 drivers having issues when driving for the first time after the update, driving with the steering wheel and pedals, so imagine how it was for me. Now I have to brake way before I was used to, and my braking point used to be earlier compared to a driver braking the right way. The same thing to getting back to the throttle on power exits. So in the beginning it made me so much slower until I gradually started understanding the car's new behaviors. You see, the first 2 laps on this training session were 2 seconds slower, the third one more than a second. Only the lap 4 brought me back to 1.46, but on the overdrive, and yet 7/10 slower than before, and after it I just couldn't keep the consistency, falling back to 1.47s. Then I just stopped to analyze it and came back to a second training session. Let's take a look at it. 48, 47, 48, 47, 48. Very inconsistent. Then I managed to get 3 consecutive laps on the 47s, but with an average half a second difference among them. And then, during lap number 9, I managed to get to 46 again, but almost a second slower than my best lap before the update. Again, I stopped to analyze it and come for a third session. For this third attempt, I managed to find some consistency in the 47s and even lowered the time to the 46s in laps 9 and 10. The final one even brought me 2/10 slower than my best time before the update, 1.46.395, but it was on the overdrive and not some realistic. The 47s were realistic, and there was another issue, the tire wear. I had a training session with the wear as it was going to be during the race and found out that the soft tires would last 6 laps, 7 if much. The pro drivers had a hard time to save their tires and find some grip with the tire sport. Imagine me. So it made me 1 second slower, but because of it I came to the third race in Autopolis with a completely different strategy, and it actually brought me results, as it was my best race of this series. Actually, considering the circumstances, it was an excellent race. I'll keep talking about the update changes as we watch the race in Autopolis. Fights on! So here we are for the race start in Autopolis, and considering everything we talked about the update so far and the results obtained for races in Interlagos and Tokyo, I decided to come for this race with a very different strategy. Yep, I'm starting as P16, and that's because I didn't qualify for this race. Instead, I started using medium tires and planned for non-stopping at all, as this race didn't require any mandatory stops. I imagined that many other drivers would have the same problems I had, adapting to the car and new physics and managing the tire wear. Many drivers would come to the race even without training or making any contact with the new physics. Altogether, with many people fighting each other on track, would result in many off-tracks, spins, crashes, tires destroyed by the middle of the race, and etc. And I would take advantage of it, staying away from the mass, trying to be as consistent as possible and moving up the grid as much as I could without putting myself in danger. I must say, the strategy paid off. Lap number 3 and we moved up to P12, 4 positions already, and we'll get one more by the exit of turn number 1, so it makes 5 positions gained. Now a battle with the Porsche driver in P10 will take place, but I won't push it. I'll just show myself in the mirror and wait for a mistake. turn much faster than them and will have the inside line. When we get to the hairpin, I try to keep as close to the apex as possible, but there is contact. I can't say if it was my fault or if they entered the turn as if I wasn't there, but I eased on the throttle and let them go anyways. I'm faster than them in some parts of the track, and their tires will wear way faster than mine, so there's no reason to push too hard now. End of lap number 4. The Porsche driver in P9 gets into the pits for a tire change and I get another position. We're P10 now. Then the Porsche driver in front of us overshoots the turn exit and we get that position. Being patient and sticking to the plan paid off. We're P9. Lap number 6, the Lancer driver loses the car and hits the wall in turn 4, so we get another position. We're P8 now. End of lap number 6 and I'm on the chase after the GTR driver. They also overshoot the exit in turn number 1. We're P7 now and not very far from P6, head down and pushing on. Final lap and we're 5.5 seconds behind P6, 27 behind the leader. We got 9 positions in a 10-lap race with minor incidents, so all things considered, it was a victory to me. The new update made it harder, yes it did. But it's been harder for everyone as far as I can see, and it wasn't all bad. The stability over curbs, grass and dirt, for example, got better in my humble opinion. The adaptation to the new circumstances also made me a better driver for this race, and I hope it will make me a better driver from now on. That's all for now, folks. I hope you liked it, and if you did so, make sure you hit the like button, leave a comment sharing with us your thoughts about it, and share this video with your friends who like Gran Turismo 7 and Simracing. Don't forget to activate the notifications bell to receive the notifications every time there is a new video here on the channel. I appreciate you who followed me so far. Salute, and I see you on the next mission.